So I think it's safe to say that the entire world and the global media is focused on this. And rightfully so, it's a pretty big deal right now. And it doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon. Flight radar is showing 17 Air Force tankers en route to the Middle East. Now I don't know what's inside these planes, whether it's personnel, troops, or equipment. But either way, this is a lot of military assets heading over to the Middle East. All because of this guy, who wanted to start a war. And I read somewhere that he didn't actually expect it to become a regional war. Well, we're way past the point of no return. So it will be interesting to see how this transpires over the next month. But I found this screenshot on Reddit. And aside from his messed up hand and his weird ankles, he now has a rash on his neck. And some of these Reddit comments are actually pretty funny. This person says, "I'm cheering for the rash. Let's go, rash. Let's go. Operation Epic Rash. The Epstein rash just keeps giving." You know, I still think that the Orange Dictator starting this mess in the Middle East is definitely a distraction from the Epstein files. Not only the Epstein files, but like attention at the United States altogether. I mean, have you guys noticed that there hasn't been any reports on ICE lately, or even about FIFA being in the US, or even tourism? Our good friend to the channel, Abby, was able to help find a report out of New York as well as Las Vegas. So in this video, I'm going to discuss these two reports. And I also have another clip as well, mainly for our viewers in British Columbia. BC Premier David Eby just announced that daylight savings time is here to stay, for good. So I'm going to discuss this in this video as well. The backdrop you're looking at today comes from Dan, and he sent this over from the Rideau Canal north of Kingston. You know, seeing photos like this makes me realize how many outdoor activities that we can do in Canada. I would love to go kayaking right now. Maybe it's something I'll do when I come back in the spring for a visit. Thanks, Dan, for sending this over. Okay, I want to start with the first report out of New York, titled, "Entries from Canada to New York declined by 3.4 million people in 2025. So for those of you watching from Ontario as well as Quebec, this article here shows your efforts when it comes to the boycott. So it starts off by stating a 21% drop from Canada into New York, and that also includes vehicle, trains, and buses. They give the usual reason of tariffs being the issue why we're not coming over, but also speculating that Canada joining the United States might be part of the issue. I guess I gotta give them credit for that. But this next part kind of shocked me. A recent poll conducted by the Globe and Mail newspaper in Toronto found that only 9% of Canadians agreed that the idea that the US is a trustworthy ally of Canada. Now, the reason I'm shocked for this is because the last reports that I've done and all the articles that I've read, I think it says it's probably like 22, 23%, not 9%. And if I recall, the last poll that I saw was an Angus Reid poll, and I think that was the one that said it was 22%. But hey, I'm not complaining at all. I mean, if the sentiment has gone down since, and is now at 9%, I'm all for it. One thing I do know is that the trust in the United States isn't going to go back up, especially with all the bombing that's going on right now. The article then goes on to say that decline in visitors has been felt in the North Country, home of the tourist attractions that include Lake George, Lake Champlain, Adirondack Park. You know, on my live stream with Josh that I had a few days ago, I did mention that I am the king of butchering names, and this was just a clear example of it. But I guess it proves that I am human. So all those people calling me AI, you can go shove it. The article then goes on to say that 83% of local businesses reported a decrease in the number of customers from Canada, with 70% attributing to the decline in political climate and tariffs. So to the businesses that don't blame it on the political climate and tariffs, what are you blaming it on? Weather? Exchange rate? Canadians not having money? I don't get some of these people. I really don't understand them. Some of the attractions did see a real loss, and we worked really hard to mitigate that as best we could, said Christy Kennedy, Vice President of Marketing and Tourism at the Chamber. A percentage of our visitation is down, which didn't get picked up by a different demographic, so there was spending that was down. Now I'm going to guess this different demographic that she's mentioning is going to be the domestic tourists. Now, do I play that clip? Do I play it? Yeah, I'm going to play it.
Also, of course, like we could survive without a ton of international tourism. I think the tourism industry in America, and I don't know this as a fact, but I think our tourism industry is more based on domestic tourism.
You can always rely on these guys to prove a point, and also to show how stupid they are. But one thing I did notice, it doesn't matter what state or county or city, like as long as it's a border town, they would always say, okay, well, you know, Canadians are not coming back, so we're going to look at a different demographic. And they start promoting internationally to Europe and Australia and everywhere else. But what they don't get is that nobody in the world wants to go to their country anymore. Article then goes on to say, the Niagara Falls USA Visitor Center reported a 27% decrease in visits, and also said that it heard from many of its partner businesses that the lack of Canadian tourists has impacted their bottom line. Yeah, it's always about the bottom line. Now here are some border numbers into New York. So if you're from Ontario or Quebec, this applies to you. Among individual border crossings, personal vehicle passengers entering into the US in the Buffalo Niagara Falls area declined by 1.9 million last year, a 20% decrease, while the entry from Quebec at the Rousse Point Crossing near Lake Champlain declined by about 639,000 people, a 27% decrease. The Alexandra Bay and Augustenburg Crossing in Ontario into Jefferson and St. Lawrence counties, respectively, both saw a drop of people entering the US by more than 28%. Now, I know all of us would like to see these percentages higher. I mean, I would love to see 40-50% right across the country. But the percentages that we are seeing now, we know is causing damage south of the border. And in my non-expert opinion, I don't think these numbers are going to decrease. To be honest, I think they're actually going to increase. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this. And if you do agree, and this is the first time watching my video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below so you're notified of my future videos. Now we have a chart. I love charts. And this one clearly shows the dip from 2024 to 2025. Now, like I said earlier, I think this blue line is going to dip a little bit more. Because what's happening right now with the CBP issues, ICE, and even this new war that the orange guy started, it's not a good image. And people are just not going to want to deal with the US anymore. Now, this next part shows that the North County Chamber of Commerce still hasn't learned their lesson yet. It says here, they have launched a new marketing campaign to try and sway Canadians to return. Elements of the campaign include displaying bilingual signs, flying Canadian flags outside storefronts, and offering Canadian-specific promotions. I'm sorry, I have to laugh at these. I mean, this is kind of a joke if you ask me. But Kennedy goes on to say, we need to heal a relationship that's been intertwined for so long. There's mending to be done. It's more about telling our local residents to remember how much our Canadian neighbors have done for us throughout history, and also geared towards Canadians, saying we understand and appreciate the relationship, and we know right now it's very strained. Well, I appreciate that you understand that it's very strained, but unfortunately there are some of your fellow US citizens, even some in New York, that are perfectly fine with what's happening right now. And when I say right now, I mean the issues with CBP, ICE, the disrespect, the 51st state bullshit, all of the above. So I'm just saying this as one Canadian, but until that is resolved, which I don't think it ever will, your country is probably not going to get my money again. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this. Now I want to go on to the next article out of Las Vegas. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I've done plenty of articles and reports on Las Vegas lately, but there's a few numbers that I wanted everybody to see. The article starts off by saying the Harry Reid International Airport hit an unfortunate milestone in January, 12 straight months of year-over-year decline in the number of passengers going through the airport. You know how I feel when I read that? This. Now, I know international tourists can't take the full responsibility for it, because Las Vegas is already shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, who the hell wants to pay $9 for a coffee, or $35 for a burger? But whether the local news, or even the local Las Vegas bloggers, want to accept it or not, the international tourists do play a big role when it comes to the income in Las Vegas. Now, this next highlighted paragraph. Much of the decline came from Canadian carriers. Last month, the country's two largest airlines, WestJet and Air Canada, saw a 27.9 and 34.2 year-over-year decline in Las Vegas passengers, respectively. Yep, I'm comfortable enough to laugh at myself now. Now again, we would love to see these numbers higher, just like the border crossings. But 27.9 and 34.4 is enough to start doing damage in Las Vegas. And let's not forget, some of these businesses, even if they get a decline in 15 or even 20% of revenue, that might be enough to shut them down. So I see these numbers from WestJet and Air Canada, and I continue to see that the local news in Las Vegas, and even the local bloggers, are ignoring the fact that Canadians are contributing. All I have to say is, good luck, Las Vegas. Now I want to end this video on a bit of a happy note. Well, it's at least happy for me. British Columbia has decided that the time change coming up is going to be the last one for them. You know, I always hated time change. Even though it's just 1 hour, I really didn't like having to wake up and it's dark and then go home from work and it's still dark. But it sounds like other BC residents are in agreement with me and they're liking this new move. Let's take a look.
British Columbia is going to change our clocks just one more time and then never again.
It has been talked about for years. BC adopting permanent, year-round daylight saving time. And finally, the Premier is acting on it.
It's about time.
It's about time to do that.
Outside of the BC Legislative Building, jubilation.
More like daylight hours, so much better.
More daylight, more time to do stuff.
We're gonna move to spring forward.
Yeah.
But never look back is what you're saying.
That's exactly what we're saying. This coming Sunday will be the last time we're going to adjust the clocks, which has been a thing in parts of Canada since the First World War, brought in as a measure to conserve energy.
There's a lot of benefits. Mental health, sleep health, kids in school that aren't going to be unruly because they've had, less sleep.
Tara Holmes co-founded Stop the Time Change BC in 2015 and has been fighting for the abolishment of the practice ever since.
I was told by Mr. Horgan himself before COVID, the time change issue caused more correspondence to the Premier's office than any other issue.
No, I didn't complain about it that much. I mean, I'm from Vancouver. We complain. But usually it would take me like 2 or 3 days to get used to the time change. But one thing I'm thinking about, if British Columbia changes their time, and for some reason we're going to the United States, like Washington, California, Portland, are they going to change their time as well? Or the second we cross the border, we just got to switch back an hour?
We had a law actually since 2019 that enabled the government to make that switch, and we were waiting for our American partners to make their move.
This professor of energy economics at UBC says he was surprised that the province has now decided to move forward with the change, even though we're still waiting on those partners in Washington State, Oregon, and California to do the same.
Finally, BC apparently thought, well, we're not going to wait any longer, let's move.
He says there will be some kinks that now need to be worked out, although that will happen over time.
For example, schedules for airlines and various other activities that are coordinated across time zones.
According to ICBC data, there are 23% more car accidents on the Monday following the Spring Forward event.
This 1 hour jet lag is a measurable bad thing that we should get rid of.
Nobody in downtown Victoria today was arguing that fact.
I think it's amazing.
Less flip-flopping.
Well, I think it's also a great idea. Although I can't take advantage of it since I'm overseas right now. But when I do move back, it's going to be something that I'm not going to miss. I'm talking about the time change. Now, one thing I didn't know, and I was today years old when I found this out, was that Saskatchewan doesn't actually participate in the daylight savings change. So Alberta's got something to decide right now. Let's take a look.
Alberta will soon be surrounded by provinces that don't spring forward or fall back.
British Columbia is going to change our clocks just one more time and then never again.
BC's Premier says this spring will be the last time the province has to move its clocks. The province will then permanently be on daylight saving time. Back in 2019, more than 90% of people in BC supported eliminating the time change. Back then, the province decided to stay aligned with U.S. states to the south. David Eby says he hopes BC's American neighbors will join the province in ending the disruptive time changes. Alberta had a referendum on time change in 2021. 50.2% of voters decided to keep the clocks moving twice a year. Saskatchewan is also permanently on daylight saving time. In a statement, Alberta's Premier says they will take this all under consideration and evaluate if a similar change would be in the best interest of Albertans.
So I guess this is a question for my viewers in Alberta. Do you want to keep things the way they are right now? Or do you want to eliminate the daylight savings and falling back and stuff like that? Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this. Okay, that's all I got for today's video. If you found any value or agree with anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US bias, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. That way you're notified of my future videos. Oh, and if you're waiting for the co-host, she's sleeping right now. And here's a photo of her while I was making the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.